Timeline. Don't know where to kind of rank this off at. So apparently, Elliot Wilson and Charlamagne, they're beefing. I know this is media shit, but it's funny nonetheless. Charlamagne on his podcast, Brilliant Idiots, said this about Elliot Wilson.
Taylor. Elliot, I don't think you should be number 5. Number 4, Charlamagne the God. All right, now let me read this, right? Last year's ranking, number 3, featured on the Breakfast Club, The Brilliant Idiots. No.
Okay, that's the first thing you said about Elliot Wilson then.
I think, Jason, that's what I mean when I say, why are you upset that people are transcending hip hop? I'm not trying to be the 50-year-old person still complaining about not being on lists, beefing with screamers, doing goofy shit, starting shit, online with rappers just to keep my name relevant. No, I want to do things and I think, Jason, that's what I mean when I say,
and then
what's going on in certain parts of the culture. That's what we're asking people like Complex to do. Do a little bit more networking. I don't think y'all doing enough networking. You know what I mean? Not because y'all, there's no way you should have misheard Arnala Simone on the list this year. You know what I'm saying? R had Elliot at number 5. What's going on? Dedication, that's work ethic. I respect it. And you gotta be, when you do things like that to get those kind of moments, that's how you end up at number 1. You know what I'm saying? I respect it. I ain't mad at it. And like I said, Drake hit him to go do that, and he went and did it. He owned the moment. That's why he's number 1. I ain't got no problem with it. You know what I'm saying? There's only one person that I feel like, shouldn't be where they at on that list. That's Elliot Wilson. And I feel like Head should be on the list. And I feel like all the great icons, like the Sways, the Big Boys, the Angies, you got to create something else for them because they are just legendary legacy figures, and they're the reason we're all here. We stand on all of their shoulders. Vacation.
Okay. Real quick, and by the way, Elliot Wilson responded with a bunch of vitriol. I think he said, fuck you to Charlamagne. He says, am I bugging? Fuck you, Charlamagne. He also said again, fuck you, Charlamagne. And then he said this tweet here, a Hall of Fame third mic nigga crying about my top 5 status. Legacy these nuts. I got great content on the way. 2024 GOAT. Oh, wow. Interesting. I would like when my media compadres aren't battling or going back and forth, but what do I think about this? I think Elliot had an amazing year. I think he stepped it up. Elliot's clearly made he made it clear that he wanted to compete. And what competition means, he wants to compete even with the likes of Kai Cenat. Yeah, you have the busybodies like Kai Cenat. You have the me's. We're going to put up mad content. You have, of course, like the pristine voices like the Joe Buddens. And Elliot's a legend. And he could just be like, yo, I'm an OG. And like Elliot could have been the guy who was like, yo, I'm not going to try to do, because if you're competing with me, Joe, and Kai, if you're competing with Kai, you're competing daily. If you're competing with me, you're competing every other day. If you're competing with Joe, you're competing weekly. You get what I'm saying? Being in this shit for 20, 30 years, if you want to do that, cool. But it's hard to do. Elliot at this point could be the guy who fucking does these great op-eds or does documentaries. He's already cemented, but he wants to be competing. It's like, imagine Eminem saying, yo, that nigga Boss Man D-Lo got a hot song? All right, fuck it, nigga. I want to run the clubs now. Like, I want to have a bigger song. You know what I mean? Like, we don't look at Eminem like that, but Elliot wants to do that. Anyway, I'll say this. His issue, or I don't know where his feud comes with Charlamagne. I'll say this. I completely disagree with Elliot when it comes to this. Charlamagne is top 3 when it comes to speaking on the mic. When it comes to hip-hop culture, and I don't want to I don't want to go back to Petey Green, and I don't want to do all that. And with all due respect to Sway Big Boy, it's 3 people. The best 3 people in hip hop culture that's ever spoken on the mic, and yes, I'm putting Wendy because Wendy's always the GOAT. I always tell y'all that. Wendy Williams, Charlamagne the God, Star from Star and Buckwild. Them niggas you cannot fuck with. Those are A mics to the utmost. I will say that, and that is the truth. So I disagree with Elliot here because you cannot call Charlamagne a third mic. Even in his lowest and weakest moment, you can't. And even if he's only doing politics, you can't. That's just not true. The Breakfast Club, I believe, is the longest running platform that's been on terrestrial radio that's syndicated. We have to give people their credit. We have to give people their credit. And by the way, a lot of times when I listen to this list or listen to Charlamagne talk about this list, I know he's proud about that, he's, top 5 or whatever, but he knows he's a legend. And I know he always puts like Sway and Angie on a different pedestal, but Charlamagne's on that too. Like, let's not get his fucking twisted. Charlamagne is that guy. It's no way we call him a Hall of Fame third mic nigga. But of course, I think Elliott's, being whatever. I don't know. I don't know where their issue is. I look at Elliott as competing, and I ain't gonna never knock a nigga to compete. I guess my only question to Elliott would be, what is the what's the end goal of this? Because even if you have, let's say next year, Elliott's like the number 1 guy, I'm pretty sure he's had those moments. He's had those years where he's number 1. And maybe he's just like LeBron, where LeBron was like, I just want to be number 1 in every era, or I want to win a ring in every era, or whatever the case is. But, yeah, no, I like the fact that Elliott is still in the game kicking. But with no doubt, let me tell you this. And even though I think sometimes I might criticize Charlamagne too, because I like a version of Charlamagne, but I want to give Charlamagne a little bit of credit in that, in speaking to him, what he's always told me is, don't be afraid to grow. And I remember him saying that to me when I was doing the war in Chirac. And he never said stop doing the war in Chirac. But he told me, don't be afraid to grow. He always told me a few things. Don't be afraid to grow. Don't be a caricature of yourself. And there was a moment I was like, I don't know if my audience is ever going to be older than like 25. And I know there's people that listen to me who's 35 and 45. And I always learned that. And I did take that from him. And I think that's important. And I don't know if that's where it stems from with Elliott, where I think Elliott's a little bit above this, man. I don't think, I think Elliott got a battery in his back from Drake trying to clown him for the Drake was trying to clown him for the Rolling Loud interviews. But I definitely think Elliott is a next level. And one thing when I watch Charlamagne, even though sometimes I don't love the political art that much, I watch a nigga who is, I don't see him trying to compete with me about hip-hop takes. I don't see him even trying to compete with Joe about hip-hop takes. And that's according to his natural love and his passions and his inclinations. And I'm like, if I ever feel differently, I hope I could be honest with myself, and I hope I could follow my gut and do what he's doing. That's what I like about him. Like, I don't think Charlamagne tries to compete at all. I think Charlamagne's on his own different path. Like, I ain't gonna lie, one thing, and this actually turned to a Glaze session, so let me stop. He told me one thing, and after he said it, I've probably written about 60 pages myself. He said, I wanted to write a book, I wanted to do these things, and I remember saying, I do want to write a book, but I'm like, would the people who fuck with me read a book? ever since I seen that, I start, jotting down here and there ideas. Maybe not like writing, but like, yeah, it's a little growth. It's growth. You know what I mean? And that's what I give Charlamagne credit for. I don't know what's going on with him and Elliot Wilson, and I hope I don't want to see two OGs beef, but the only thing I could say is Charlamagne is top 3 nigga to ever touch a mic. That's facts. And of course, I'm leaving out Sway, Angie, and everything like that. But I'm talking about. I don't want to call it shock jock, but I want to talk. I want to say super jock, a nigga who could hold down a platform by themselves, who are like they're the entertainment. We're literally going Wendy, we're going Charlemagne, and we're going Star from Star and Buckwild. That's it. That's the truth. Okay. And that was in no order, because some people might rank Star over Charlemagne. Regardless, that's the 3. Like, when Wendy used to command a slot, we didn't even know she was lying. We don't know what she was saying. She had little talks that was just for gay people, but like, Wendy's Wendy. Charlemagne, some people were trying to give him the system player, like, oh, you're like Kawhi. You're only good because you're with 3 people. No. Man, Charlemagne was lighting this bitch up when he was in Philly. If anything, the people around Charlemagne has always been the buffer to make sure the roles are on the rail and to make sure women feel represented in other people. But Charlemagne, let's keep it a bean, right? And Star is just a legendary nigga that kind of changed radio and changed talk. And like, I think one of the only people who beat Howard Stern in ratings ever. So it is what it is. All right. Okay. Got a little bit of that in.